The Colts are sending wide receiver Michael Pittman to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hayden, simple question. All right. The Steelers offense now has Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf at wide receiver. Is it difficult to even talk about them when we don't even know who's throwing them passes in 2026?
Well, I'm guessing it's just going to be Rodgers because right away I thought this was like a move to make Rodgers happy. It is a good compliment to DK Metcalf, like who's going to stretch the field vertically. And then Michael Pittman, even though they're both like outside players, Michael Pittman slants, dig routes, out routes, curls, that type of thing, which DK Metcalf has largely struggled with, and Rodgers kind of needs both of them. So just looking around the league, there's not. Malik Willis has gone. Kyler Murray's probably not going to the Steelers and stuff. So I'm guessing it will be Rodgers. So that's how I'm kind of taking this conversation. So good compliment, good like 1-2 punch. Not super exciting, but this keeps the Steelers rolling.
And we'll get to the other half of this. This was the shoe to drop after the Colts re-signed Alec Pierce, gave the transition tag over to Daniel Jones, because Michael Pittman was either going to be cut or traded for a late round pick swap. I mean, he had no guaranteed money left on his contract. The Colts saved $24 million by doing this deal. I mean, if you look at the raw stats, we do have 2 1,000-yard seasons here from Michael Pittman, one in 2021 and then one in 2023. Then obviously a rough 2024 and then an injury-riddled 2025. We'll talk about the injuries here in a moment. But when you watch and look at Michael Pittman now in 2026, what do you think he does best?
I think it's all the in-breaking stuff. He's a good contested catch, a big wide target over the middle of the field. So he's just going to be doing some of the dirty work stuff. You can't kick him inside. The Steelers, because they have so many tight ends, even without Jonnu Smith, are going to have a lot of 2 wide receiver sets. And I think Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman could certainly handle a lot of that. I think the contract extension I find really interesting as well. So when the Colts get rid of him, the Steelers inherit $24 million for this year. They extend him at $19 million per year. Even though the salary cap's going up, Michael Pittman's contract is going down. So like that's how little value, yes, of course, that Michael Pittman's contract was that they're inheriting. That's why it was just a pure late round pick swap here. Just they got him at a reasonable contract moving forward. I think he's a fine NFL wide receiver too, even though there's not going to be a crazy ceiling now.
I'm laughing, but this is a better wide receiver too than like trotting out Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson and these guys.
Oh, by far.
And that's what they had been doing. Yeah. And I like your point, if this is Rodgers or if it's not, of what they did with DK Metcalf last year was totally against everything we had seen of DK Metcalf as a wide receiver in the NFL in terms of taking his best traits and basically not utilizing them. They turned him into a low ADOT player and then asked him to win after the catch. Now, a lot of that is because of, who Aaron Rodgers is at this point. Doesn't want to get hit, doesn't want to extend plays, wants to get the football out of his hands as quickly as possible. Slant flat, over and over and over again. And that's just what we have. That fits Michael Pittman much better. I mean, the RPOs that the Colts ran and the quick hitters, that's where Michael Pittman, again, despite all these aches and pains during his last few seasons, I mean, we can talk about groin pulls, knee bruises. We know about the back sprain that, remember the week that it's like, oh, his season's going to be over. He's going to have surgery. And then he just comes back 2 weeks later. That was only 2 seasons ago. He is not afraid to work in trash, in traffic, over the middle of the field. So whether this is Rodgers, whether it's someone else, they do have like that complementary pieces of an underneath intermediate guy and then a big play threat in DK Metcalf. And they're both big body types too.
I don't think it's that bold to think that Michael Pittman could have more receptions this year, but I think DK Metcalf's probably going to have more yards, and I think that's going to be the function of how these guys are used. But I don't think it'd be that outlandish to say that Michael Pittman might have more receptions than DK Metcalf this year, just based off of how they're going to be utilized. So, yeah, this is going to make the Steelers' offense feel a little bit better than it did last year. They ran out of guys to throw the ball to. That's why they kept spamming passes to Kenny Gainwell, and obviously we saw all the 3 tight ends. Like Michael Pittman's a better receiver than all those types out there. So this makes the Steelers team a little bit better. They got the offensive line squared away, and this is probably going to be one of their big moves of the offseason, but it is a step up from what we were watching in 2025.
Let's talk about the opposite end of this. That's on the Colts direction. Just to peel back the curtain, we already recorded a Colts video. We are trashing that and only recording this element of it because, again, these two moves are tied to each other. This is a ton of money here for Alec Pierce. It's around $29 million per year. After transition tagging Daniel Jones, you could not then afford to lose Alec Pierce, but there are not many wide receivers making more money than Alec Pierce just on average per year standpoint right now. It's Terry McLaurin, Brendan Ayuk, Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. So I'll ask you this question again. Does Alec Pierce fit in that category of wide receivers?
He does not, but he is a really good wide receiver, and this is free agency for crying out loud with the salary cap going up. So there's only 4 wide receivers making more in total guarantees, like those, like the 4 like best wide receivers in the game. He's interesting in that he's not going to get the spammy production. Like all of his production is earned on the line of scrimmage as a vertical based wide receiver, and then this year he actually had a lot more in-breaking and out-breaking routes on top of that to make him a little bit more well-rounded. But he's not going to get anything really underneath. You're not going to see him in the screen game. You're not going to see him with that many slants like you're going to see some of these other top wide receivers. He's more of like your traditional X wide receiver, kind of a throwback mold, who's never going to catch 100 passes in a season, but he's going to make the most out of his 60 catches every single year.
He has gone from one of the best like role players in the NFL as a true vertical playmaker to really specializing and mastering that skill set, and then adding, I think, some skills on top of it.
Yep.
Is he going to be like the focal foundation point of a passing game, like a true quote unquote wide receiver 1? Probably not. At the same time, where Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard are, let's say in their job tenure at this moment, could you afford to lose Alec Pierce out there in the free agent market? No, you cannot. As soon as you transition tagged Daniel Jones and are now looking towards a long-term deal with Daniel Jones, despite, the hairline fracture in his leg and the Achilles injury right after that, and the hot and cold nature of just his play in general as a pro, you have to then bring back Alec Pierce and pair him with Josh Downs and so on and so forth. So Hayden, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you grade this combination of moves that the Colts have made here in the last, week?
This is a straight up 5. I think getting rid of Michael Pittman and keeping Alec Pierce, that's a win. That's the decision I would have made. I think I probably would have went with the franchise tag for Alec Pierce, which is at $27 million instead of doing this $29 million for the next 4 years. And then I think I would have probably played hardball with Daniel Jones. And I think the Daniel Jones part of this is the one thing that leaves me a little bit kind of perplexed. Like, who exactly are they competing with? Like, they're going to be somewhere between, this like $37 million benchmark, which they set for themselves, up to $50 million a year, which is what Daniel Jones' side of this wants. It's going to be somewhere in between that, I'm sure. That just seems like a lot versus some of the other quarterbacks out there. I'm very curious to see if there was going to be another team that was going to step up to the plate like this. I would have kind of flip-flopped how they use the transition tag and the franchise tag, and I would have played more hardball with Daniel Jones and kind of had a fallback plan with Kyler Murray or somebody else, because I think Alec Pierce is like pretty hard to replace.
Right. It's very easy for you and I to, sit behind a keyboard and be like, well, Kyler Murray is about to sign for the veteran minimum at $1.5 million. Why are we going to give Daniel Jones, $38 million coming off a major significant injury? At the same time, you could also say, well, the first 8 weeks of the NFL season last year, the Colts were a top 5 offense in the NFL at times. It really felt like that. And it felt real, It really felt real. Then Daniel Jones had some plays and some games here or there that tailed off. And then, as we know, the injuries hit in a dire situation. So I don't know. I don't know what to think overall of this Colts team, if they can really push for the playoffs and even further than that. And Hayden, I'll go as far to ask if we've already seen like the best version of the Indianapolis Colts. And that was in the first 8-10 weeks of last year.
Probably, but that was literally the number one offense, not just that season, but like in the first 8-10 weeks of the season, whatever you want to make the cutoff point, like that was one of the best offenses, point blank period, in like many decades. So I think that's going to be the thing they're always chasing. The hard part is you traded the 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. You have now all these guys that were really cheap. Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce were all really cheap. Now they're at the very top of their market that you don't have the first rounders to kind of pair with. So I think the defense is going to be the part that's going to kind of fall apart. Their offensive line has been pretty banged up this last year too. So, having Warren, Taylor, and Alec Pierce is all you need for weapons. And then if Daniel Jones can get healthy again, which has been, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and now the Achilles, that's going to be the hard needle to thread here. So I understand chasing the high point because it was truly that high. But obviously they're all in with this core, and they're not going to be able to add really too many pieces as the cherry on top now.
That does it. As you can tell, when a trade goes down, a free agent signing goes down, we have a video on it. So hit that subscribe button, lock in, and we'll see you in the next video.